Most of you aren't subscribed. Make sure to subscribe, as it helps out the channel. Without further ado, our series follows our MC, Noor, a hard-working man seen helping out Auntie Stella with manual labor in the morning. Immediately heading off to a day job, carrying heavy luggage all throughout a construction site, only to get praised for his athletic feats throughout the day. Having heard a cry in a nearby cave, Noor immediately rushes into the cave, shocked to see a group of people fighting against a massive-looking monster. Flashing back 15 years, in the northwest kingdom of Clays, we see a young Noor starting a fire and preparing some medicine, checking on his mother, who thanks Noor for taking care of her. Suddenly remembering that he needs to retrieve the goats on the hill, Noor promises to not cross beyond the rocks, knowing that his mother is worried he may not return. Noor says he'll hunt a rabbit and acquire several nuts and seeds to make them soup for dinner, suddenly running off to fetch some water, seeing his mother coughing profusely. Quickly stopping Noor's mother apologizes for causing Noor so much trouble, asking that Noor live the life he always wanted. As Noor fulfills his task for the day, he begins prepping the soup for their dinner, but upon delivering the meal to his mother, Noor is mortified to learn that his mother had passed away during the night. With a proper burial the next day, Noor sheds some tears, stealing his resolve, as he continues to hunt, feed his livestock, clean his house and read. As time goes by, Noor is seen doing his everyday tasks over and over, always ending the day alone at the dinner table, but one night whilst Noor is cleaning up a bookshelf, he accidentally stumbles onto a fancy-looking book. Upon reading its contents, Noor is reminded of when his younger self had asked his father what an adventurer is, amazed to hear his father recount tales of adventurers slaying a massive dragon, learning all sorts of powerful magic, destroying curses and even obtaining an elixir that cures all illnesses. Hearing that an adventurer is someone that vanquishes all evil, Noor is reminded of his mother's final words, asking Noor to live the life he always wanted. Figuring out what he must do, Noor gives livestock plenty of food for a while, visiting his parents' graves, and declaring that he had decided to become an adventurer. Leaving his hometown for the first time, Noor decides to cross over the rocks his mother warned him against doing, unable to sleep out of fear on his first night, but successfully makes it to a new town. Passing by the town guards, Noor is instantly blown away by the thriving city, excited by what is to come. Arriving at the Adventurers Guild, Noor is unfortunately told to go away by a mean-looking guildmaster, reminding Noor that his parents probably don't want their child enrolling into something so dangerous. With a serious demeanor, Noor reveals that his parents have passed away, catching the attention of the guildmaster who feels sorry for Noor. The guildmaster states that in order for Noor to register as an adventurer with the Royal Capital's Adventurer Guild, Noor must first attend Royal Training School where Noor will acquire a class in various skills. Fired up to wield a sword and learn magic, Noor immediately enrolls into school watching as a fellow classmate's sword suddenly ignites with fire. Focused on the future, Noor continues to train for several months. Noor is the sole student that hasn't acquired a special class, pulled aside to have a quick chat with his instructor. The instructor reveals that Noor has only learned how to parry attacks, advised to give up on becoming an adventurer since Noor has no aptitude for adventuring. Having not given up, Noor trains to become a warrior, someone that acts as a shield for their party, but even after several months of training, his instructor sadly advises Noor to give up trying to be a warrior. When trying out for a hunter, Noor is scolded for being too rough with a bow. When training for a spy, Noor learns that he is incapable of dismantling traps and can't sense anyone's presence. Moving on to a magician, Noor's instructor is shocked to see how weak Noor's magic capabilities are, even turned away by his cleric instructor, having no aptitude for light magic. After 3 months, Noor regretfully informs the guildmaster that he has yet to acquire a skill, forcing the guildmaster to refuse Noor from being an adventurer, fearing that Noor would simply hurt himself. With his head hung low, Noor slowly trudges back to his hometown, visiting his parents' burials to inform them of his failures, but Noor still refuses to give up. Crafting a wooden sword, Noor remembers that his sword instructor had told him to repeatedly practice a skill until he masters it, forced to repeat his parry skill day and night. With a single year of practicing the parry skill, Noor succeeds in parrying 10 swords at once, cutting to 3 years later when Noor has mastered the ability to parry 100 swords at once, but sadly no new skills. Knowing that he'll never become an adventurer at the rate he's growing, Noor continues to drill the parry skill, cutting to 10 years later where a single swing of Noor's blade is capable of sending shockwaves throughout the nearby forest, revealing that Noor has the ability to parry 1,000 swords at once. With no new skills under his belt, Noor bids his parents goodbye, heading back to the Adventurers Guild to try once more, revealing to the receptionist that he has the ability to parry, the ability to enhance his body along with several other weak skills. When the receptionist advises Noor to undergo training to find a class, Noor sadly admits that he has already tried all the possible training schools out there, suddenly running into the guild master. Amazed to see that Noor has grown so much, reminding Noor that adventurers range from S rank all the way to E rank and that Noor still technically can become an adventurer. Excited, Noor learns of the F rank adventures, people that are forbidden from taking on quests that involve slaying and gathering and are only allowed to take on tasks within the city. The guildmaster advises Noor against stooping so low, but having made up his mind, Noor gladly accepts the title of F rank, if it means that he can be an adventurer. Physically enhancing his body, Noor gets to work, making use of feather steps to catch a stray cat and low-tier healing to patch up any wounds. Making sure to train in the afternoons, Noor enjoys the hot springs at night, only to return to helping people throughout town during the day, taking time to impress some kids with his stone-throwing technique. At night, Noor states how grateful he is to be able to help people, wondering if there is any way he can obtain a higher rank. Having been caught up to date, Noor is seen rushing into a nearby cave, shocked to see a monster that he's only read about in books. As the monster begins approaching some knights, the knights declare that they must protect the binded girl at all cost, giving their lives to stall the monster. With Noor confirming that the men are all slowly dying, Noor helplessly watches as the knights attempt to fight for their lives, but having seen enough, Noor grabs one of the knights' swords, hurling several stones at the monster to lead the creature away from the tied-up girl. Knowing what he must do, Noor begins to run away, suddenly turning only to parry the monster's horns, pushing the creature aside temporarily. Now forced to parry the monster strikes, Noor's blade begins to wear down, racking his brain for any way to win, but Noor knows he has no offensive abilities. Suddenly spotting the monster aggro onto the girl due to some interference, Noor decides to bet his life on the next attacks, sacrificing his blade to parry a lethal slash from the creature. With his shattered blade, Noor remembers the words from his father, choosing to meet the creature's axe head-on, parrying the axe and decapitating the creature with its own axe. Exhausted by the fight, Noor admits that he still has a lot to learn, suddenly hearing the girl thank him for saving her. Noor finds it sad that so many men had passed during the battle, swiftly heading off when the girl asks for his name, but it's revealed that the girl's name is Lady Lindbergh. As Noor heads through town, Noor reflects on how powerful the cow monster was, even though it wasn't a demon, but this gives Noor more reason to become stronger. Back at the cave, we see Lindbergh praying for the souls that gave their lives to protect her, but just then Ines arrives apologizing for not staying by Lindbergh's side. Lindbergh reassures Ines that she personally chose to not be escorted to the trials for the throne, suddenly interrupted by Lord Darkin, who reports that Lord Rain would like to speak with the two. Following Lord Darkin, Darkin wonders how a demon minotaur from the lower levels of the dungeons would have appeared on the surface, learning from Rain that there was a merchant amongst the pack that summoned and controlled said demon with a ring. Having consulted the Okayan the mage, Okayan had concluded that the ring was of quite high purity, something Darkin knows most nobles wouldn't normally be able to easily obtain a ring that summons an A-ranked demon. Rain reveals that Okayan had found markings on the ring that belonged to the magic empire of VIDZ, something Darkin had already assumed was the case, shaming the empire of VIDZ for attempting to assassinate Lindbergh and start a war. Darkin knows that VIDZ is after the mysterious dungeon of the lost in their empire, which houses many relics. Changing topics, Darkin reads over the description regarding the man that saved Lindbergh, amazed that man slayed the creature with a simple sword and disappeared before the kingdom's trackers could find him. The next morning, Noor returns to the guildmaster, who is surprised to see Noor is okay, worried that Noor ran into the demon at the construction site. Noor apologizes for the confusion, having headed straight home realizing some strange people were following him, but this relieves the guildmaster as he reveals that he was originally an A rank himself and even he wouldn't face the creature. Hearing this, Noor is relieved that he ran into a weaker demon, happy to receive his pay for yesterday's work. The guildmaster reminds Noor that he could earn 30% more with a normal job, but just then, Lindbergh appears, having finally located Noor with her detection skill. Noor wonders if Lindbergh is of the thief class, but Lindbergh reveals that she is primarily a mage with knowledge of the 6 skill classes at a basic level, impressing Noor. With everyone but Noor recognizing Lindbergh, they all begin wondering if Noor was the man that slayed the A-ranked demon, prompting Lindbergh to suggest they move somewhere else private. Advised by the guildmaster to follow Lindbergh, Noor and Lindbergh begin heading through town with Lindbergh's soundproofing and concealment magic, easily evading the city's guards only to stop in a secluded area. Apologizing for dragging Noor away, Lindbergh sincerely thanks Noor for saving her, asking if Noor would like anything in return, but Noor simply says her thanks was enough. Shocked, Lindbergh asks that Noor meet with her father and be rewarded for saving her life, But when Noor says he really doesn't need anything extraordinary, Lindbergh begins to cry. Lindbergh states that she refuses to move until Noor meets her father, something that reminds Noor of his younger self, ultimately agreeing to accompany Lindbergh as long as she doesn't make it a big deal. Excited, Lindbergh layers several skills to avoid detection, heading towards her mansion, which surprises Noor. Easily making it past the guards, the two introduce themselves, with Noor promising to call Lindbergh Clays, Lin moving forward. Walking through the spacious halls, Noor wonders what type of noble Lin is to afford such a location, suddenly running into Ines, who tells Lin that her father is having a meeting with Rain. Amazed to see a woman in armor, Noor wonders if Ines is a maid, but suddenly spots Ines glaring at him. As Ines escorts Noor and Lin, they run into Gilbert, a man wielding a spear. Immediately Gilbert demands to know who Noor is, sensing nothing special from him, but Ines asks Gilbert to not be so rude, and instead help escort Lin and Noor just in case. Cutting to the king, he gets annoyed learning that VIDZ was behind the attack on the princess, reminded of the time when VIDZ attempted to trade access to the king's dungeon in exchange of their military power. But when the king had refused, VIDZ swore that the king would regret such an action, suddenly spotting Lin entering his throne room, happy to see his daughter alive. As Noor marches beside Lin, Darkin suddenly calls out his sister for using the hermit's cloak to leave the mansion again, but Lin says she needed to thank the man that saved her, intriguing the king. Noor apologizes for not dressing up, but the king reassures Noor that he simply has to be himself, shaking Noor's hand, but before Noor can leave the king asks what Noor would like as a reward. Noor reassures the king that he doesn't need anything, surprising the king as he offers Noor an abundant amount of money, land or even half of the sacred items that the kingdom has found in their dungeon. Even still, Noor refuses to accept anything, wondering if there is any way he can leave without agitating everyone. Thinking for a moment, the king heads towards his throne, picking up a black amalgamated blade, offering the blade to Noor. When Darkin advises his father against such a gift, the king simply states that it's been collecting dust, but when Noor grips the blade, he realizes how heavy the weapon is. Noor asks if the weapon is too pricey for him to accept, but the king reassures Noor that it was a simple item he picked up during his adventures, asking for Noor to give the blade a swing. Happy to hear the sword wasn't too valuable, Noor physically enhances his body with some magic, swinging the blade with a single arm, terrifying everyone at the shockwave Noor's slash gave off. Amused to see Noor handle such a heavy blade with a single arm, the king asks that Noor help train Lin, but Noor sadly refuses, revealing that he doesn't have much to teach Lin. Satisfied with Noor's response, the king allows Noor to leave, cutting to Noor admiring the blade, especially since he can use it as a shovel to help remove clogs from Auntie Stella's drains. Just then, Ines appears, apologizing for acting so rude towards Noor, stating that she was simply acting cautious in protecting Lin. Apologizing for the late introduction, Ines Harness introduces herself as the vice captain of the Clays family warrior corps, but Ines had also obtained the title of Divine Shield. Ines mentions that since Noor saved Lin, Ines will do whatever she can to repay Noor's heroic feat, but seeing as he doesn't need anything at the moment, Noor says he'll tell Ines if he ever needs anything. Ines also takes the chance to warn Noor to never act casual with the king or the Clays family again, demanding that Noor learn the proper etiquette the next time he shows his face. Shocked by Ines's serious demeanor, Noor promises to be careful next time, pleasing Ines as she asks for Noor's name, shocked upon hearing Noor's name, swiftly leaving. Finally alone, Noor attempts to leave once more, but is stopped by Gilbert, who demands to test out Noor's capabilities. Escorted by Gilbert to one of the training halls, Gilbert mentions how Noor and himself will be having a mock battle, revealing that Gilbert himself is quite well known in the royal capital. With Gilbert choosing a wooden spear, Noor opts for a wooden sword, both facing off against each other, all whilst Noor states that he'll learn as much as he can from a real fighter like Gilbert. With the onlookers cheering on Captain Gilbert, Gilbert initiates the duel, thrusting his spear at Noor, but Noor nonchalantly dodges. Impressed, Gilbert begins speeding up, incorporating slashes and thrust into his movements, but once again Noor easily reads and dodges all of Gilbert's strikes. Noor notes how Gilbert's strikes are refined and polished, but finds it strange how Gilbert is moving quite slow, believing that Gilbert is purposely holding back. Pausing the match, Noor asks Gilbert to show his true potential, surprising Gilbert as he also believes he was holding back, apologizing as Gilbert grips his staff, further increasing his speed. Even still, Noor moves to evade Gilbert's advances, wondering why Gilbert is leaving himself wide open, believing it to be a trap. Seeing so many openings, Noor continues to dodge and observe Gilbert's movements, but Gilbert gets pissed, activating a swift skill forcing Noor to leap into the air. Seeing an opening, Gilbert aims for Noor's head, but Noor simply leans back, evading Gilbert's lethal blow. Wondering if Gilbert is still holding back, Noor once again asks Gilbert to go all out, believing that he may actually be stronger than Gilbert, but out of nowhere Gilbert unleashes his Dragrave thrust. In a blink of an eye, Noor disappears, having read and evaded the destructive blow. Apologizing for taunting Gilbert, Noor accepts the defeat, but Gilbert is completely baffled to see a mere human evade his blows. As Noor heads home from the intense duel, Gilbert's men all begin discussing how powerful Gilbert was, believing the wind from Gilbert's spear forced Noor to concede, but Gilbert knows otherwise. Gilbert reveals that he was born with a knack for wielding the spear, flawlessly defeating all of his enemies with a spear and ultimately motivating Gilbert to further refine his skills. One day, Gilbert was confronted by the elder of the village he was staying at, apologizing for not giving Gilbert a worthy opponent, as Gilbert has already defeated everyone in the royal capital and is now on the hunt for anyone that can match his strength. The elder reveals that there has been news of the capital calling for foreign reinforcements, suggesting Gilbert visit the capital once more as there may be more talent for Gilbert to challenge. Intrigued, Gilbert joined the royal forces, slaying demons along with easily climbing the ranks. Having no human nor creature able to defeat Gilbert, Gilbert is seen resting, interrupted by his instructor who teases Gilbert for acquiring the title of Spear Sovereign, a title Gilbert finds cheesy. The instructor reminds Gilbert that he himself has the title of Sword Sovereign, reminding Gilbert of Ines who is quite powerful with the sword, but Gilbert knows that in a duel he would still win. Gilbert asks the instructor how boring it is to be constantly training weak soldiers and adventurers, but the instructor reminds Gilbert that it takes a team to win a war and that one day there will be someone that will surpass not only the instructor but Gilbert himself. In the present, Gilbert wonders who Noor is, having heard that Noor slayed the Minotaur, but didn't accept any lavish rewards from the king. Gilbert knows that Noor doesn't have any unique skills like himself, but even still Gilbert wasn't able to land a single strike on Noor, even after using his ultimate skill. Gilbert thinks back on the duel with Noor, confused as to why Noor admitted defeat, even after evading Gilbert's ultimate skill. Having been humiliated by Noor, Gilbert demands to know where Noor is heading, but Noor diffuses the situation by promising to meet again in the future. Once Noor had left, Gilbert realizes that there are massive cracks in the floor where Noor was standing, excited at the fact that he can finally go all out having found someone that can give him a challenge. Following Noor reveals that he had to physically enhance his body along with using feather steps to evade Gilbert's ultimate technique, thankful to Gilbert as he still believes Gilbert was holding back. The next day, Noor is back to cleaning gutters, amazed that the sword is perfectly fitted for clearing the gutters and is still in good condition. Although Noor is grateful to be able to clear so many gutters, Noor is still disappointed that the sudden appearance of the Minotaur caused his construction job to close down. Staring at his blade, Noor wonders if he can use it to find other F-rank suited jobs, disappointed that his fire skill only ignites a small flame and is at the lowest level. Out of nowhere Lin appears, surprising Noor as he wonders how she found him, learning that Lin asks the guildmaster where Noor was, but Noor deduces that Lin had found him with her tracking skill. Getting straight to the point, Lin asks to be Noor's page, somewhat like an assistant, hoping to follow Noor around and learn from Noor. With Noor immediately refusing, Lin wonders why since she is more than capable of any tasks, having obtained the highest marks from all 6 training schools. Noor simply says that he doesn't need help with any of the jobs he's doing, prompting Lin to offer to recruit Noor as an instructor, but when Noor once again refuses, Lin begins to cry. With no other option, Lin shows off her skills, casting ice spell only to destroy the ice with a high-level fire spell. Next up, Lin unsheaths her dagger, instantly cutting up a tree, revealing that she had learned such a technique from the Shadow Sovereign instructor crew. Finally, Lin takes out the handle of a blade, igniting the blade as she incinerates a tree beside Noor, bragging about the sacred class skill, but Noor asks Lin to stop. Noor confirms that Lin is leagues above himself, telling Lin that he is inferior to her, but hearing Lin reveal that she has been recognized by 6 sovereigns, Noor chooses to show off his weak fire ability. Dejected and heading back home, Lin remembers the stories of a boy with no talent, hearing that the boy attended all 6 training courses staying the full 3 months even though the boy obtained no outstanding talents. Lin realizes this boy was Noor, remembering a time when instructor Okayan had shown Lin a familiar tiny flame spell. Although Okayan says that the tiny flame spell is useless for any application, the tiny flame spell can actually be used to gauge how much someone has trained in general. Creating her own tiny flame, Lin admits that their flame always remained small, but today she saw how grand Noor's tiny flame was, speechless as she knows Noor has trained and worked so hard. Remembering how heroic Noor was when facing off against the Minotaur, along with how hospitable Noor is for constantly helping out the citizens of the capital, reasoning that she must learn from Noor, especially since in the future Lin will be ruling alongside her brother. Later that night, Lin meets up with Noor once again, revealing that she'll follow and learn from Noor starting from today, but Noor can't help but be weirded out. Cutting to Darkin, he's seen wondering why his father would give Noor the prestigious Black Blade, revealing that the king in fact had to travel deep into the dungeon accompanied by the Sovereign Six in order to acquire such a relic. Upon further inspection, the material of the blade is unknown, being tougher than mithril, orichalcum and monometal. Even with various physical and magical attacks against the blade, the sword would not break, being deemed the unbreakable blade, but the question is of course who carved and led the engravings on the blade. Thinking for a little longer, Darkin reasons that his father most likely knows there is something happening in the country, hoping that Noor could be the man to help fight against this unknown force. At the same time, Noor and Lin are seen ordering some food at a stand, surprising Noor as he fears Lin shouldn't be so out in the open. Lin reassures Noor that she is currently performing her duties as an adventurer and is under Noor's tutelage, happy to follow Noor wherever he goes, but as the two sit down for a meal, Noor believes that once Lin finds out what jobs he does on the daily, Lin will probably lose respect for him. Heading to the guildmaster gets weirded out, spotting Lin accompanying Noor, asking what happened that led to this. Seeing Noor hesitate to answer, the guildmaster apologizes for snooping, heading to retrieve a quest for both Noor and Lin to complete. Since Lin is a silver B rank, the guildmaster states that they both can handle a goblin hunting quest, surprising Noor as he only knows goblins as terrifying creatures he's heard from stories. Noor gets worried that they may have trouble with such a hard quest, but the guildmaster reveals that Lin can normally take on silver tier quests on her own and technically Noor would be the only liability. Hearing this, Noor is grateful to be given such an opportunity, but feels bad for taking advantage of Lin's rank, especially since he's wanted nothing but to ask her to leave him alone. Seeing as Lin is none the wiser, Noor asks if Lin is okay with being used to obtain a higher level quest, but Lin is completely alright, prompting Noor to retrieve his blade. As the guildmaster informs the two of their job location, the guildmaster warns the two to still be careful, even though the quest is a low-level threat. Taking out a map, Lin recognizes their location as the Forest of Beasts, but the guildmaster also reminds the two to bring back the right ear of the hunted goblins as proof of a slain goblin. Suddenly remembering that there have been a report of fewer goblins roaming around, the guildmaster advises the two to pick some herbs, that way they don't return empty-handed. Just like that, the two head outside the castle, heading into the Forest of Beasts where there are hundreds of different tree species. Seeing as it's the perfect time, Noor asks to know more about goblins, learning that the goblins normally target smaller animals but have a tendency to eat fruits as well. Recently the goblins have resorted to attacking humans, and if the goblins are left alone, they begin to multiply rapidly and may cause issues for villages nearby. Lin does mention that adventurers only trim down the population of goblins, leaving a few as to not disrupt the natural flow of the ecosystem. Lin also points out various fauna that can only be found in the Forest of Beasts, and that the forest is quite commonly used as training grounds for beginner adventures. Hearing all of this, Noor is completely amazed that Lin knows so much, but as they head into a mist-covered region of the forest, Lin uses a search spell for some goblins. Sadly, they still haven't located a single goblin, but Lin notes how there is a monster-like presence up ahead. With no other choice, they head deeper in the forest where the trees begin to block out the sunlight, a location goblins thrive in, but suddenly Lin loses track of the monster she was tracking. Noor wonders if the monster had suddenly passed away, but as the two head to the last known location, they are shocked to see no signs of monsters anywhere. Suddenly sensing something, Lin swiftly casts a uncover spell, shattering a stealth spell, only to reveal a massive goblin devouring one of its kind. With Lin completely terrified, Noor believes that the goblin they are facing is a standard goblin every adventurer would face, ordering Lin to suppress her fears and fight alongside him. It's revealed that Lin froze out of fear, realizing that the goblin in front of them wasn't any normal species but was in fact a goblin emperor, a subspecies of the goblin king, and was most likely created with forbidden knowledge by humans. With the goblin emperor rushing our duo with two tree trunks, Noor is forced to block the strikes with his blade, parrying the emperor's strikes to learn its attack pattern. Seeing the goblin thrust one of the tree trunks at him, Noor refuses to allow the emperor to corner him, once again parrying the blow to put space between them. Calling for Lin to help out, Lin conjures several wind slashes and ice projectiles, but the goblin emperor nonchalantly defends and evades the spells. Taking a stance, the goblin emperor tosses a tree at Lin, forcing Noor to step in front and parry, but as the goblin begins barraging Lin with more trees, Noor is forced to defensively parry each and every one. With the Goblin Emperor pausing for a bit, Lin wonders how the Emperor hasn't sustained any damage, suddenly realizing that the mana stone on the Goblin's forehead must be a source of its power. Before Noor can make a move, the Emperor suddenly tosses 3 trees into the air, followed by a single one directly at Noor, surprising Noor as the Goblin has realized Noor needs time between each parry to focus. Luckily, Lin unleashes a devastating wind blast, blowing back all the tree projectiles, only to confirm that the mana stone is indeed helping the Goblin Emperor regenerate. Knowing that they won't be able to reach or outlast the monster, Noor asks for Lin to aim a wind blast at his back, scaring Lin as her wind magic can demolish castle walls. Noor reassures Lin that he'll be using the sword to absorb the blow, ordering Lin to quickly cast the spell, suddenly being flung towards the Emperor. Quickly physically enhancing his body along with casting Feather Step and Heal, Noor leaps into the air, carving past the Goblin's weapon only to knock out the mana stone from the Goblin's forehead. Seeing as the Goblin is writhing in pain, Noor is relieved to see Lin secure the mana stone, but Noor asks for Lin to finish the Goblin off humanely. Gladly accepting, Lin casts a Hell Flame spell, instantly incinerating and putting the Goblin to rest, all whilst Noor promises to get stronger. That evening, Darkin receives a report from some cloaked figures of the Goblin Emperor equipped with the massive Mana Stone, a creature that would be even tougher than a regular Goblin King. When Darkin suspects the magical empire for causing such a thing, the hooded figures reveal that the Mana Stone could be a demon's heart from the holy theocracy of Mithra. Darkin is relieved to hear that Lin survived such an ordeal, but is confused as to how such a powerful monster entered their land without being detected. But seeing as this may not be the only case, Darkin asks for further investigation into strange occurrences around town. Having headed back to the guildmaster is happy to hear that Noor and Lin managed to complete the quest, accusing Noor of hiding behind Lin as she did all the work. Although Noor believes that they were hunting a normal goblin, the guildmaster gets worried hearing that the goblin may have been an unusual since it was carrying a mana stone. But when the guildmaster asks for the goblin's ear as proof, Noor and Lin realize they don't have proof since they burnt the goblin's body. Back with Darkins, he reads through the report of strange sightings, learning that mysterious sounds can be heard at night, animals have been acting strange and people have been disappearing. Looking at the various locations of these strange occurrences, Darkins suddenly realizes something, ordering the hooded men to dispatch any members who can use the skill search and uncover, but to also summon the Sovereign Six. With the hooded figures swiftly heading off, Darkins wonders why the magical empire would try such a thing, pissed that their enemies are willing to destroy their kingdom if it means they gain access to the dungeon. Having been awarded by the guildmaster for his first hunt, Noor and Lin head for some skewers, both relishing in the food after a hard day's work. Noor does wonder how long Lin will be with him, but before he can ask, Lin mentions how she needs to head home since it's getting late. Out of nowhere, Darkins appears, asking Noor to visit a city in the mountain district with Lin, apologizing since he can't explain why just yet. Seeing as Noor is quite surprised, Darkins promises to prepare and pay for anything Noor needs on the trip, something Noor can't refuse. Having taken the request through the guild, the two head out first thing the next day, exciting Noor as he had never ridden a carriage before. Taking in the gorgeous scenery, Noor dreams for the day when he can visit other countries, hoping to become a full-fledged adventurer that can travel wherever they want whenever they want. Lin takes the chance to apologize for the sudden request from her brother, but Noor reassures it's fine since he's still getting paid. Flashing back, Darkins had instructed Noor to head northwest of the capital via carriage, heading to the mountain district of Toros where Darkins instructed the two to sit and wait. If nothing out of the ordinary occurs, Darkin asks Noor to then head to the neighboring land, the holy theocracy of Mithra. Lin knows that something is strange with Darkin's request, but Ines reassures Lin that she is here to help as well. Flashing back, we see Ines having a private conversation with Darkins, learning that Darkins suspects that their home will surely be destroyed in the near future. As a result, Ines has been ordered to take Noor and Lin to safety in the holy city of Mithra. Darkins asks that Ines keep this conversation a secret, fearing that Lin would want to remain in the capital. In the present, the gang stops to feed the horses, but at the same time Ines apologizes for having Noor's caught up in everything. Noor gets confused, still believing that they're on a simple trip to another kingdom, but Ines says that she can't tell Noor the reason why she's been stressed lately. Hearing that Ines plans to protect Noor's and Lin on the trip, Noor reassures Ines that they can always run if they get into trouble, but gets surprised hearing that Ines has a powerful shield on her, even though Noor doesn't see a shield nearby. Choosing to unveil her skill, Ines conjures a barrier, asking that Noor make use of her barrier that blocks both physical and magical attacks, impressing Noor. Noor mentions how he learned Gilbert is a skilled spearman, even managing to take on a dragon by himself, and that Ines was just as capable. Hearing Noor's compliment about her unique skill, Ines had remembered the time when she first learnt of her mysterious skill, accidentally cutting her friend in the orphanage. Having been brought before several instructors, Ines showed off her new skill, impressing the instructors as her skill can be shaped into anything Ines wants. Ines was then trained with Sovereign Shield Dandalg, learning how to manipulate and use her skill properly, but as Ines grew stronger, she naturally grew distant from everyone, fearing that she would hurt them. It's revealed that Ines was surprised when she heard Noor's name, having heard that name before. During one of her hunts, Ines got distracted and had forced Dandalg to step in and protect her. Ines had grown to know as her foster father and instructor, believing that she was his most prized possession, but Ines had overheard Dandalg muttering that he had wished Noor was still around. Ever since then, Ines has despised the man Dandalg calls Noor, shocked to hear that Dandalg would respect the man named Noor and not her. As Ines drives the carriage, she wonders if the Noor traveling with them has known the Noor she yearns to meet, holding back any signs of malice and anger as she needs to fulfill her duty as Lin's knight. Just then, Noor spots a strange path being carved in the nearby wheat farm, prompting Linz to cast her uncover spell, revealing a terrifying monster. At the same time, the king and Darkin get a report that their kingdom has begun to fall, with various monsters appearing around the capital. Seeing as there is no choice, Darkin sets the protection and evacuation of their citizens as their #1 priority, but this all pisses the king off, knowing that VIDZ won't allow this first attack to be the end. The king asks for updates on the Sovereign Six, satisfied to hear that the sovereigns have all been dispatched to separate locations to fight and protect, but Darkin does worry about how Lin is doing. Back with Noor, we see a mysterious boy marching alongside the monster, only to have his concealment barrier be shattered by Lin. Out of nowhere, the monster strikes the boy down, a monster Ines recognizes as the Black Death Dragon. With no time to spare, Noor retrieves his blade, dashing to the boy's side only to parry the monster's slashes before they can harm the boy. Off to the side, Ines points out how the boy and the monster were both being hidden away by the concealment spell, meaning the boy must be a demon folk. Flashing back, Darkins tells Lin that demon folk are people that appear human-like, but they have special abilities that allow them to speak with monsters. These demi-humans are considered more monster than human, as there are records of demon folks invading the holy theocracy of Mithra 200 years ago, and ever since the humans have hunted the demon folk to extinction. Sadly, some offspring still remain, and this means that the remaining demon folks will have a deep hatred for the humans. In the present, Ines declares that the boy most likely was manipulating the dragon, but when his barrier was shattered, he lost control of his dragon. Pissed that Noor would assist a demon folk, Ines orders Linz to not intervene, but at the same time Noor is easily able to defend the dragon's slashes, believing that Lin and Ines will surely arrive to help. Spotting the dragon charging up a projectile, Noor notes how he can't evade the projectile as the boy will be hurt, therefore he chooses to parry and slash the projectile, but is shocked to suddenly be poisoned. Ines states that poison from the dragon is the reason the dragon is deemed the Black Death Dragon, as anything the poison touches will die. Seeing Lin trying to help, Ines immediately erects her barriers to stop Lin, stating that Lin must escape whilst she holds back the toxins from the dragon. Knowing that even the Saint Sovereign will have trouble with such potent toxins, Ines chooses to create a barrier and stand her ground, all whilst Lin attempts to purify their surrounding air. With no luck, Ines apologizes to Noor, sad that she wasn't able to help Noor in his last moments, but suddenly something hits Ines's barrier. With the toxins cleared, we see Noor still standing and protecting the boy, all whilst Ines realizes that Noor is the true embodiment of what it means to be a shield, having put his life on the line to protect the boy. At the same time, the toxins slowly weaken and confuse Noor between each parry, ultimately forcing Noor to collapse, all whilst the monster looms over Noor. Flashing back, we see the white-haired boy locked away with several other children, all despairing at how the world despises them for wielding cursed power to control magic beasts. Even when fed, the children have no choice but to act like wild beasts, but one particular boy knows that people have enslaved and used their abilities against others in war. When the boy questioned the world, the men that enslaved him would beat him into submission, and when the boy yearned for an answer, he would be beaten into silence. As the boy is placed outside to be mocked and pelted with objects, the boy reveals that his cursed power also allows him to read minds, but this only made his life worse and he had to ignore hundreds of people all berating his existence. Even though the boy never wanted to hurt anyone, the men that enslaved him offered him an ultimatum: either help invade another kingdom and be free or be punished further for betraying his captives. Unable to refuse, the boy ultimately accepted, leading to him walking past the cornfield only to have his barrier shattered by Lin. As the boy loses control on the dragon, he's slammed to the ground, but doesn't actually fear death, grateful that his power won't be used for evil in the future. As the boy's life flashes before his eyes, Noor suddenly appears, rescuing and saving the boy. As Noor fails to prevent the dragon's toxic fumes from spreading, Noor chooses instead to heal the boy and not himself, leading to Noor ultimately collapsing before the dragon strikes. As Noor reassesses the situation, he declares that he may just be able to survive, remembering the time when he would spend alone at home after failing all the training schools and returning home to train alone. Noor had ventured into the forest to gather herbs like always, excited to have gathered so many, deciding to store some away and eat the rest for dinner. Even though Noor felt something was off with one of the herbs, Noor continued to consume the plant, only to collapse that night, having just eaten a poisonous plant. Refusing to die so young, Noor casted low heal on himself all throughout the night, dragging himself towards a water source that gave him the energy to stay awake and live. Having identified the plant as the dragon's ruin, Noor scolds himself for not remembering that his mother warned him against eating such a plant, but seeing as he couldn't miss a day of training, Noor soldiered on. Midway through training, Noor suddenly began coughing up blood once again slowly healing himself until the pain subsided. Revisiting the forest in search of the dragon ruins plant, Noor accidentally gets bitten by a poisonous snake, pissed as he collapses to the ground weak, but not even several hours later Noor immediately recovers from the bite. Curious, Noor hunts and eats the poisonous snake, amazed that he has grown tolerant to the snake's poison. Before further testing, Noor slowly grew his tolerance to poison, slowly consuming more and more poisonous things, ultimately savoring the taste of these lethal plants at the cost of a little blood. In the present, Noor nonchalantly gets up, having already recovered from the dragon's poison, wondering how delicious the dragon will be once he slays it. Happy to see his low heal is saving the boy's life, continuing to parry the dragon's strikes, ultimately shattering the dragon's claws and teeth, shocking everyone. As a final trump card, the dragon begins charging up its remaining toxins, preparing to douse Noor, but being prepared this time, Noor chooses to puncture the dragon first, trapping and having the toxins implode and erode the dragon's body. Ignorantly, Noor mistakes the poisonous dragon for a mere frog, heading over to check on the boy's wounds. Feeling guilty, the boy admits that he was the one that was concealing and leading the massive monster, but Noor once again misunderstands, believing that the boy was simply bringing the dragon to town to have it slayed and sold, apologizing as he offers to pay the boy for killing his delicious livestock. Confused, the boy reassures Noor that there is no need to pay, leading Noor to ask how the boy was able to travel so far with such a large monster. Ashamed, the boy reveals that he has the skill to control monsters, shocking Noor as he praises the boy's heavenly gift. Seeing as Noor is still not understanding, the boy reveals himself as a demon folk, but even still Noor is jealous, revealing that if he had the ability to control monsters, he would have the monsters be his friend and help out on his farm along with protecting him on his travels. The boy is confused as to why Noor isn't afraid of him more, but Noor simply states that the boy is an ordinary person with a unique ability, someone Noor wishes he could be just like. Hearing such kind words for the first time, the boy begins to break down asking if Noor truly means what he says, prompting Noor to reassure the boy that he's far more useful in the world than himself. As Noor wonders what the boy has gone through to have such low self-confidence, Lin and Ines suddenly rushes to his side, wondering if Noor needs healing, but is shocked to see that Noor has already recovered most of his wounds. Lin remembers that the Sane Sovereign once showed off his purifying aura, a technique that cleanses all debuffs and heals all wounds, but it was a technique that took the Sane Sovereign 40 years, something Noor technically already accomplished at such a young age. When Noor asks Lin to instead heal the child, she hesitates, confirming that the boy is indeed a demon child, but gets even more shocked hearing Noor wants to bring the boy with them. The girls remind Noor that a demon child can cause massive destruction anywhere they go, but Noor reminds the girls that the boy is a mere child and plus it seems as if the boy had been instructed to bring the poison dragon into town. When Ines questions the boy further, the boy reveals that he doesn't know where he was enslaved nor did he know who enslaved him, something Ines finds tragic as although their kingdom of clays forbids slavery, other countries gladly welcome it. Hearing the boy shyly utter that he has no home, Noor offers to give him a ride into town, something that reminds Lin of her father warning her to trust her own intuition and not rumors. As Noor learns the boy's name is Rollo, Lin asks if Ines would allow the boy to follow them to their destination, but Ines reveals that demon folk are forbidden from entering the holy theocracy of Mithra, and that they themselves may risk being attacked for smuggling a demon folk into town. Out of nowhere, a mysteriously blindfolded man appears, surprised to see that his target is still alive. Questioning the mysterious man, the gang learns that the man was simply hired to help escort Rollo along with the monster, but when Noor begins apologizing for slaying Rollo's livestock, the man states that he couldn't care less. The man declares that he'll be taking Rollo with him, suddenly disappearing, but Noor manages to read the man's movement, blocking a sneak attack from behind. With Ines dragging Lin away, Noor stands in between the man and Rollo, learning that the man plans to take the corpse of Rollo back to his buyers and that way he'll get paid the big bucks. With Noor fending off the man's attacks, the man gets annoyed, leaping over Noor, but matching the man's speed, Noor once again parries the man's blade, shattering his sword and blowing the man back. With Lin unable to keep up with the two's movements, the man praises Noor's attacks, once again trying various aerial attacks but Noor manages to defend and blow the man back, pissing him off. Getting serious, the man declares he'll decapitate Noor first, hopping from side to side, only to disappear thrusting his dagger at Noor's head. Barely able to see the movement, Noor raises his blade to cover his head, blown back several meters, having genuinely seen his life flash before his eyes. Inspecting the man's weapons, Noor is shocked at how a small dagger could do so much damage, but spots one of the daggers shattering from impact with Noor's blade. With no choice, the Mank chooses to overwhelm Noor with his relentless attacks, something Noor knows will eventually succeed as he can only focus on defending Rollo. Off to the side, Noor's intense clash forces Ines to erect a barrier, blocking off any debris that may fly their way. Ines reveals that she recognizes the man as the former S-rank adventurer, Deadman Zadu. Flashing back, Ines is seen attending an instructor meeting for the Six Sovereigns, bringing up the fact that there is an unsolved murder enacted by the S-rank adventurer, Deadman Zadu. Gilbert gets excited, wanting to know more in order to hunt down the traitorous adventurer, but Sovereigns forbid Gilbert from tracking Zadu down, knowing that Zadu is way too strong, even scaring most of the instructors. Since most of the instructors refuse to divulge further information to Gilbert, Gilbert gets annoyed, but the mage instructor does reveal that Zadu mastered dwarven alchemy before he was 13 years of age, earning himself the title of Dragon Slayer, an accomplishment that even surpasses Gilbert's heroic feats. The mage instructor also mentions how Zadu is widely known as the strongest adventurer of all time, shocking Gilbert as to why Zadu is being hunted, but Ines does mention how Zadu was involved in the murder of 36 merchants. Even still, since Zadu had helped the guild eradicate various monsters, even a disaster-level threat, Zadu had retained supporters and hence Zadyu's prosecution was ultimately split and put on hold, allowing Zadu to do as he pleases. The instructors state that Zadu would take any job, as long as he got paid, and this mentality ultimately led Zadu into slaying an entire country without any remorse. Ines tells Lin that several adventurers had tried to hunt Zadu down, but none succeeded and the failed attempts only raised Zadyu's bounty even further. As a result, the guild had declared that Zadu was dead to avoid more innocent adventurers from hunting down Zod, hence the name Deadman Zadu. In the present, Noor is still standing, having defended and shattered most of Zadyu's blades, something Zadu is shocked by as the blades were made of orichalcum and dragon's tusk. When Noor offers to pay for all the broken blades, Zadu gets weirded out, noting how strong Noor is along with his strange blade. Knowing he shouldn't draw the battle on for too long, Zadu unveils a cross-shaped sword, tossing the item into the air, only to reveal hundreds of blades from the cross. Declaring the item to the Silver Cross, Zadu encourages Noor to destroy as many as he likes, revealing that they can easily be replaced. Unable to deal with the barrage, Noor parries the initial bunch, but chooses to cover Rollo with his body, impaled by several spikes. Seeing all of this transpire, Ines prepares to intervene, but holds herself back, knowing that her number one priority is to protect and escort Lin. Stealing her resolve, Ines asks permission from Lin to assist Noor, all whilst Noor helplessly swings and parries the hundreds of spike projectiles. At that moment, Ines's barrier manages to distract Zadu temporarily, allowing Ines to intercept the projectiles heading straight for Noor. Apologizing for the late entrance, Ines continues to grow her barrier, splitting off sections of the barrier, only pelt projectiles of her own at Zadu. Watching Zadu move, Noor is amazed at his calculated movements, able to slip and weave past Ines's projectiles all whilst smirking. Assessing the situation, Ines states that they can't win, ordering Noor to grab Rollo and escape, but Noor notes how although Zadyu's spikes move fast, he's personally dealt with a bird that moves faster. Looking around for the fang of the poison dragon, Noor gets an idea, asking Ines to remove her barrier on his signal. Skeptical at first, Ines gives in, temporarily opening a hole in her barrier, allowing Noor to physically enhance and toss the nails and fangs of the dragon towards the spike, shattering Zadyu's silver projectiles. With several more stone throws, Ines and Noor are happy to see that the number of projectiles are decreasing, but out of nowhere Zadu appears, thrusting his sword towards Ines's eyes. Luckily, Noor had anticipated this, parrying and saving Ines's life. Speechless, Zadu demands to know how Noor was able to read his movements, but is even more terrified to know that Noor's sword shattered his adamantite dagger. When Noor once again blocks one of Zadyu's sneak attacks, Zadu realizes that he may be fighting a hopeless battle, declaring that since he's already lost so much money with his broken blades he might as well cut his losses and leave for today. Zadu takes the chance to reveal that there will be a special event at the capital soon, but refuses to elaborate further. Before Zadu leaves, he notes how Noor is the most interesting yet annoying man he's ever met, attempting one last strike at Rollo, but Noor easily defends. With Zadu finally disappearing, the gang reason that they should head back to the capital, especially since Rollo won't be allowed at Mithra. Out of nowhere, Rollo begins shaking, revealing that he heard that the strongest of the monsters will be invading the capital. With so many red flags, Lin states that they'll be heading back home, but upon hearing Ines refuse, Lin reveals that she knows Darkins had instructed Ines to flee to Mithra to protect her. Lin reminds Ines that her being a sole survivor is pathetic and that they should at least head home and warn everyone about the impending danger. Knowing that heading home is the right thing to do, Ines agrees, allowing Rollo to accompany them. As they all begin heading back to the capital, Lin begins to grow nervous, but is relieved to know that Noor will at least be with them. Back at the capital, Darkins walks through town to assess the damage, happy to hear that the dispatched sovereigns have cleaned up the first wave, but warns his men to prepare for the next. When the soldiers report that there have been no sightings of the enemy in town, Darkins racks his brain attempting to uncover what the enemy has planned next. Looking into the sky, Darkins spots a strange ball moving through the sky, swiftly casting his uncover spell, only to reveal the monstrous tyrant that is the Calamity Dragon. Flashing back, we listen to Noor's father recount tales of evil dragons, known as devil dragons, being slayed by adventurers given the Dragon Slayer title. These slayers would first decapitate the dragon, only to sell off the dragons for lots of loot, something Noor wishes he can do in the future as well. Sadly, Noor's father reminds Noor that dragons are formidable foes, with many of them living for thousands of years and as a result can easily topple mountains with a wave of their tails. Noor's father mentions how their continent was almost decimated by a dragon in the past, but before Noor can remember the rest of what his father had said, Noor wakes up in the carriages, suddenly sensing something strange nearby. With everyone turning their attention to the massive dragon in the skies, Lin recognizes the dragon as a dragon of calamity, a creature that has only been asleep for 150 years. Darkin gets annoyed at how ruthless their enemies are, having awoken the dragon in order to have it do their bidding. With several flaps of its wings, the dragon shreds part of the town, prompting Darkin to order his men to begin escorting everyone out of town before it's too late. Sadly, the archer sovereign begins sensing peculiar magic scattered across town, cutting to the other sovereigns who all seem to be encountering more strange enemies, making escape along with grouping impossible for the 6 sovereigns. At the same time, Gilbert rushes to the king's side, asking the king to retreat with everyone. Sadly, the king orders Gilbert along with all the knights to prioritize protecting and evacuating the citizens. As for the king, he states that he still has some business to attend to in town. Back with Lin, she's completely defeated knowing that her father will most certainly remain in town and give his life to stall the dragon, but as Lin cries for her father to not be so heroic, Noor suddenly speaks up. Having finally gotten to see a dragon for the first time, Noor asks Lin if she thinks Darkin and the king are still in town, happy to hear that Darkin and the king refuse to leave their town to fall. Noor states that he can still reach the town before the dragon wipes it clean, asking Lin to perform the same wind boost as they did with the Goblin Emperor. When Lin gets worried she'll injure Noor, Noor reminds Lin that the sword her father gave him along with the townsfolk that help raised Noor are all people Noor care about, therefore they should still try their best to save everyone. Realizing that Noor is correct, Lin scolds herself for already giving up, stealing her resolve as she prepares to help Noor out. At the same time, we see the king marching through his palace, thinking back on when Doritas for letting the dungeons go to waste. Doritas gets annoyed hearing the king was fine with keeping things as it is, teasing the king for being naive and unfit to rule, but at the same time the dragon finally lands, beginning to stomp and destroy parts of the town. Having reached the top of the tower, the king thinks back on when a younger Lin had praised her father for fostering such a marvelous town. Seeing as their town is doomed to fall, the king agrees that he is more suited to be a fighter and not a ruler, unsheathing his powerful blade. Apologizing to the townsfolk for allowing their home to fall so easily, the king promises to at least take out one of the dragon's eyes. Back with Noor, we see Ines conjure a tunnel to help with Lin's accuracy. On top of the tunnel, Lin begins layering spells to help with her accuracy, power and precision. Warning Noor that her blast will be much stronger than before, Lin casts her wind spell 6 times, blasting Noor away in an instant. Cutting to the king, we see him grip his blade, watching as the dragon's head peers over the tower. As the dragon begins charging up a devastating blast, the king begins getting cold feet, all whilst Darkin and his men recognize the dragon's breath as the same attack that burned up parts of the continent hundreds of years ago. With no one able to help, the king smirks, knowing that he truly has no chance, but refusing to go down without a fight, the king unsheathes a tiny dagger, choosing to put his all in this next attack. Across the kingdom, the sovereigns recognize the blade as the blasting sword, an artifact that drains all the holders' mana in exchange for a sacrificial attack. As both the king and the dragon unleash their world-ending projectiles, Noor suddenly appears, parrying the dragon's breath, directing the blast into the air, which shocks all the onlookers. Having temporarily been knocked down, the dragon looks around for Noor, pissed that a tiny creature would stand up to them. Raising its tail, the dragon goes for a whip attack, but Noor chooses to once again parry the tail, accidentally knocking the dragon down as well. Noor is still in shock, as it was only seconds ago when he was struck by Lin's wind magic, forced to physically enhance his body to not only balance himself but also jump over the castle wall, and before Noor knew it, he was parrying the dragon's breath. Inspecting his surroundings, Noor is surprised at how easy it is to parry the dragon's attack, spotting a massive hole in clouds off in the distance, but as the dragon gets up once again, Noor psyches himself up as he may be the only one that can stand toe-to-toe with the beast. At the same time, Lin, Ines and Rollo are riding through town, all agreeing to save the king as Noor distracts the dragon. Out of nowhere, the three are struck by some debris, but luckily Ines had reacted fast enough, protecting the others from any incoming projectiles. As the smoke clears, Lin spots several goblin emperors appear, surprised at how tiny they are, asking herself how Noor would choose to deal with their opposition. With the three calming themselves, Lin showers the goblins with ice projectiles, surprised at how durable and fast the goblins are. Before the goblins can reach Ines's barrier, Rollo orders the goblins to stop moving, allowing Lin to freeze the goblins in place, only for Ines to finish them off with her divine sword. Lin is amazed at how flexible Ines's barrier magic is, but is even more amazed Rollo was able to control the goblins with a single order. As the three continue with their rescue mission, we see Noor able to keep the dragon at bay, parrying each of its slashes, shocking the dragon as the dragon seems to be receiving damage, but Noor's blade has yet to show signs of breaking. Opting for a different strategy, the dragon flies into the skies, taking its time as it once again charges up its elder's breath. Unleashing the breath onto Noor, everyone is horrified to see Noor parry the breath, officially infuriating the dragon. Since dragons are prideful creatures, the elder dragon before Noor chooses to charge head-on towards Noor, but standing his ground. Noor severs one of the dragon's fangs, surprised to see the dragon suddenly has given up and has instead chosen to submit to Noor. Spotting the severed fang from the dragon, Noor remembers that the title of Dragon Slayer is only given to someone who slays a dragon, but seeing as he can't muster up the courage to put down the adorable creature before him, Noor chooses to give up on that dream for now. As Lin, Ines and Rollo rush to congratulate Noor, Noor takes the chance to thank Rollo, confusing everyone, as Noor believes it was Rollo who helped tame the dragon. When Rollo reveals that he had no part in taming the dragon, Noor believes it's simply Rollo's way of being modest, changing topics so as to not put pressure on Rollo further. Noor takes the chance to ask if they can send the dragon back to where it came from, hearing that Ines and Lin prefer that they put the dragon down, but seeing that Noor wants to spare the dragon's life, Lin agrees to try returning it alive. Calling upon Rollo gets some words of encouragement from Noor, stepping forward as he begins telepathically speaking with the beast. Shockingly, Rollo hears that the dragon is willing to do anything its master says so, shocking the girls, as they confirm the dragon acknowledges Noor as its master. Noor asks Rollo to have the dragon return home and to never harm humans again, something the dragon is happy to oblige by. Spreading its wings, the dragon takes flight, letting out a roar only to fly back home, but before the dragon can disappear forever, it's shot out of the sky by a powerful beam of light, revealed to be the work of VIDZ. Sitting upon his horse, VIDZ confirms that the dragon had been successfully shot down, mocking the old dragon for its naive nature. Nonetheless, VIDZ is disappointed that the dragon didn't wipe out the entire Clay's kingdom, calling for his men to prepare their next wave of attacks, summoning their soldiers. Flashing back, we see the magical kingdom of VIDZ mapping out the current attack on the Clay's kingdom, planning on attacking the kingdom with the awakened Dragon of Calamity, only to have their forces march through the crumbling kingdom as backup. Their soldiers all carry magical swords and shields, with some elite soldiers carrying magical armor and cannons. Additionally, they have 3 Aegises, 4 Brionac ray guns, something that makes Doritas laugh with joy, but out of nowhere, Randius, one of the elite soldiers, speaks up. Randius asks if their attack on the Clay Kingdom will truly benefit them, but having heard enough, Doritas kicks Randius in the face, reminding everyone that once the Clay Kingdom is wiped out they'll be the most powerful kingdom to rule. In the present, Doritas thinks about the further generations and how they'll all think back on this moment, where Doritas, the ruler of the magical kingdom, overthrew the naive ruler of the Clay's kingdom. Back with Nor and his party, they head to the crash zone of the Calamity Dragon, worrying Nor as Rollo is unable to determine if the dragon is alive. On top of things, both Doritas and Lin spot each other, something that alerts Doritas' men as they recognize Ines as the legend with the divine shield that has guarded Clay's kingdom. Glad to have discovered one of the heroes guarding the city, Doritas orders for one of the Brionac to be fired, all watching as the cannon begins charging up a molten hot ball of magic, in preparation to melt and incinerate Ines. Cutting to Ines's point of view, she spots the enemy charging up a powerful beam of light, ordering Lin to take Rollo and look for cover, but before Ines can erect her barrier, the Brionac's beam is already in front of her. Luckily, Nor steps in between the two, parrying and dispersing the beam, which confuses Doritas as he orders his men to prepare another shot. Assessing the situation, Nor learns that Doritas has prepared an army consisting of more than 10,000 and plans to invade Clay's kingdom, something Lin knows was inevitable given the state of their kingdom's army. Knowing that they can't fight Doritas' army head-on, Ines suggests that they retreat, but Lin believes there has to be another way. Just then, another barrage of projectiles swarm the gang, forcing Ines to project her barrier, asking everyone to remain behind her shield as Ines can only focus whilst she's stationary. Seeing as they've been pinned to one spot, Nor scolds himself for always being a coward, remembering times when he would constantly flee from bees after disrupting their hives. Getting an idea, Nor suggests that he face the enemy head-on, giving Lin the wrong idea as she states that she'll help Nor get over to the enemy. Seeing Lin prepare to cast a spell, Nor gets worried hearing that Lin won't be giving Nor any defense magic, reminding Lin that he wants to return with everyone alive. Suddenly, Rollo points out that the enemy is charging up another beam attack, forcing Lin to give Nor a little shove, only to follow up by blasting Nor with her wind magic. In an instant, Nor is shot into the air, flying past Ines's barrier and into the oncoming swarm of lasers. Testing out his parry, Nor is relieved he can parry the projectiles, following up by using his momentum to rush towards the enemy. Unable to change his direction, Nor charges headfirst into the enemy, parrying the thousands of swords and shields the enemy soldiers are wielding, reasoning that the deeper he gets into enemy lines the more time his party will have to escape. Watching from the rearguard, Doritas is horrified to see all of his army's weapons be completely nullified in mere seconds, only to spot Nor appear behind them. In a split second, Nor disappears once again, scaring Doritas' army as they all realize their swords are now falling towards them, taking out most of the soldiers as they hopelessly attempt to flee for their lives. To make things worse, Doritas spots 3 massive blocks floating in the air, but before Doritas can react he and his men are blown back by Nor's torrential speed. As the Aegises collapse onto the Brionac, Doritas helplessly watches as his remaining army is torn to shreds, unable to execute any orders as he realizes that Nor has reappeared behind him. Spotting Nor glaring off in his direction, Doritas fears that Nor has reduced him to be the enemy emperor and leader of the army, screaming in horror as he sees his life flash before him. As Nor slowly marches towards Doritas, Doritas remembers he still has his Kaiser armor and sword, reaching for his weapon but is too shaken to grip his blade properly. Suddenly disappearing again, Nor flings the Brionac beside Doritas, horrifying Doritas as his 10,000-man army has been defeated by a mere mortal. Approaching the defeated Doritas, Nor places his blade before Doritas, reminding Doritas of the time he spotted the same black sword behind the king's throne, demanding to know why Nor has it. Doritas also remembers that he heard tales of the Clay's king needing 2 hands to wield such a heavy blade, but seeing as Nor is nonchalantly carrying the black sword with a single hand, Doritas acknowledges Nor as the single person that toppled his unbeatable army. Seeing as Nor still hasn't slain him, Doritas reasons that Nor plans on torturing and humiliating him, swiftly rushing to his horse as he gallops away, fearing what the demonic Nor has in mind. Following Nor's perspective, it turns out Nor didn't even realize the man wearing the fancy-looking gold armor was Doritas, the ruler of the Magic Kingdom, and instead Nor focused on keeping the enemy's weapons and shields in the air and away from them. After toppling Doritas' deadly weapons, Noor chose to take a breather beside Doritas, but upon hearing that Doritas may recognize Noor from somewhere, Noor began marching slowly towards Doritas. Seeing Doritas but nothing but a fragile old man, Noor chose to prioritize the cannons on the battlefield along with the remaining soldiers, once again returning to Doritas' side to take a breather, but fearing that he's scaring the old man, Noor forced a smile, but this would end up forcing Doritas to flee on horseback. Out of nowhere, Noor begins to feel fatigued, collapsing onto his knees as the remaining enemy soldiers surround Noor. Before Noor can black out, a shower of arrows rains on the remaining enemies, as skill Noor knows belongs to the archer sovereign. Next up, Gilbert dispatches the men surrounding Noor, shocked to see Noor was able to topple the enemy forces alone. Joining Gilbert is the Sword Sovereign, both heading onto the battlefield, where the Sword Sovereign shows off his brilliant sword skills. Up on a cliff, the Saint and Mage Sovereign both complement the Sword Sovereign's tenacity, but they both reason they should capture the enemy alive, leading the Mage Sovereign to summon reinforcements. With all mages casting an earth-binding spell, we see the Warrior Sovereign charging the enemy with his army, only to be all concealed within an earth dome by the Mage Sovereign. As the Saint Sovereign begins healing any injured, Noor is completely amazed, remembering the times he spent training under each of the sovereigns. Having been healed by Lin, Noor reassures everyone that he's fine but could use some food. Securing the battlefield, the Sword Sovereign mentions how the remaining commanding officers confessed to there being no more attacks, pissed to know that the enemy emperor managed to flee even after all the waves. The Mage Sovereign mocks Doritas for fleeing and leaving his army behind, but Noor mentions how he did notice a fancy-looking old man wearing gold armor during the battle. Curious, the Mage Sovereign realizes that Doritas was covered in orichalcum, a highly rare ore, but the Sovereigns reason that catching up to Doritas would be mostly impossible unless they had a faster way to move around. Getting an idea, Noor introduces everyone to the injured dragon, terrifying the Sovereigns as they are standing before a powerful ancient beast. Without hesitation, the Saint Sovereign begins healing the dragon, taking the time to praise Noor for how much he's grown. Having not realized the man standing before them as the weak boy from so long ago, the Mage Sovereign and Noor exchange some jokes, but getting serious, the Mage Sovereign questions if Noor can truly ride the dragon. Reassuring the Sovereign that he'll be fine, Noor mentions how Rollo will be helping him, but Rollo is quite unconfident with his own capabilities. With the dragon finally waking up, it begins roaring out of anger, a roar Noor recognizes belongs to someone that seeks revenge. Confirming this, Rollo hears that the dragon wants to head out immediately, something Noor isn't opposed to. Speaking up, Ines and Lin state that they'll be helping to guard Rollo, prompting the Saint, Thief Sovereign to offer to tag along, wanting to help with healing the injured and concealing their movements. Before they depart, the King and Darkin arrive, thanking Ines for remaining by Lin's side all this time. Having Darkin join the crew, the King asks Noor to look after everyone once more, watching as Rollo orders the dragon to take flight, leaving the King and the Mage Sovereign behind. At the same time, the Warrior and the Sword Sovereign wonder if they should have told Noor the truth, but they both know that Noor would surpass them eventually, even if they choose to train Noor. It turns out they had both witnessed Noor parrying the massive weapons into the air, a spectacle that makes the Sword Sovereign want to train harder in order to catch up to Noor. Back with the gang, we see the Thief Sovereign and Lin casting detection spells, hoping to locate Doritas, but sadly no luck. As the gang begin approaching a bridge, Darkin mentions how they'll be approaching enemy territory soon, wondering if they should turn back to avoid unnecessary conflict. Just then, Lin reports that she has located Doritas, but he seems to be almost back in his territory where he'll be safe. Knowing that they are protected by a concealment spell, Darkin realizes that they should break through the current choke point swiftly so as to not allow the enemy to prepare a counterattack. Speaking up, Ines offers to spearhead the attack, pissed that the enemy has gotten away with invading her home without repercussions. With permission from Darkins, Ines equips her holy blade, decimating the wall along with the magical weapons on the choke point. Amazed to see Ines's overwhelming strength, Darkin and Ines agree to continue to pursue Doritas even though they are heading deeper into enemy territory. Assessing the situation, Lin mentally prepares for their upcoming brawl, happy to know that she is surrounded by talented individuals, but unbeknownst to Lin, Noor is completely unconscious, having been knocked out by his fear of heights. Following Doritas, he manages to return to his kingdom, heading into his throne room enraged that his invasion had failed. Before Doritas can issue any orders, Doritas' henchmen point out the massive dragon heading in their direction, terrifying Doritas as he believed the dragon should have been shot down. Racking his brain, Doritas deduces that the Saint Sovereign must have resurrected the beast somehow, swiftly scanning the room for a beast tamer of their own. Upon learning that their own beast tamer is nowhere to be seen, VIDZ becomes more annoyed, tossing his men aside and ordering his soldiers to go and make themselves useful. With no other choice, VIDZ declares that they'll be unveiling the Karyunos, a weapon even VIDZ's advisors are heavily against, especially since the weapon hasn't been tested enough. Refusing to hear otherwise, VIDZ kicks one of his advisors aside, stating that they need to put their all into striking the dragon down. As the massive cannon locks onto the dragon, it draws power from the entire city, but as the cannon unleashes onto the dragon, Nor simply parries the beam into the air. With the beam raining back down onto the city, VIDZ's advisors begin to realize how hopeless the situation is, all individually choosing to abandon VIDZ, all whilst VIDZ begs for mercy. Cutting to Nor's perspective, Nor overhears that the thief sovereign has located VIDZ in the central tower, but out of nowhere the gang spot a powerful beam being shot at them. Without a moment's hesitation, Nor rushes to the front of the dragon, leaping into the air only to parry the beam. Having saved everyone, Nor in turn begins to descend, falling through the central building towards VIDZ's location. At the same time, VIDZ's own soldiers surround VIDZ, declaring that they must slay VIDZ in order to save the town, but before the soldiers can execute VIDZ, Nor appears. Mistaking Nor as an ally of VIDZ, the soldiers begin attacking Nor, but seeing Nor parry one of the projectiles, they reason they should attack Nor all at once. Easily parrying all the soldiers' strikes, Nor accidentally knocks out VIDZ, wondering why all the men are ganging up on VIDZ. When the men point out that VIDZ is actually the ruler of their kingdom, Nor gets even more confused, kicking VIDZ into a wall to avoid a grenade one of the soldiers had thrown. Seeing the enemy toss 3 more grenades, Nor once again tosses VIDZ aside to avoid the explosion, but the soldiers grow more impatient, wanting to offer VIDZ's head to avoid conflict with their enemies. Luckily Darkin and the others arrive, thanking Nor for protecting VIDZ as they mean to speak with him privately. With Lin and Nor heading elsewhere, Darkin asks for the soldiers to stand down, asking to have a chat with VIDZ, who begins begging for forgiveness. Infuriated, Darkin reveals that he will forgive VIDZ, but Darkin also points out that a total of 127 people have been severely affected if not killed by VIDZ's arrogant schemes. Darkin states that VIDZ will suffer the same amount the innocent people have suffered, and only after will they hold a conference to end war among nations. With no objections from VIDZ's soldiers, Darkin reassures VIDZ that the Saint Sovereign is here to make sure they don't lose VIDZ during his punishment, and the Thief Sovereign will keep VIDZ awake throughout, something that Darkin reckons would be a fitting punishment for scum like VIDZ. Back on the roof of the building, we see Rollo peacefully resting with the dragon, all whilst Lin tends to Nor's wounds. Watching over the city, Nor feels bad for all the damage from the beam he parried, but Lin reassures Nor that the scattered beam mainly targeted monofurnaces, locations where people are prohibited from visiting. Meeting up with Darkin and the Sovereigns, Nor learns that both their nations will now be heading towards peace talks and reconstruction of their countries, shocking Nor as the war between their kingdoms started and ended quite fast. As for VIDZ, he seems to have relinquished the throne to his 10-year-old descendant, but the boy will be guarded by the Circuit 10, the 10 soldiers that attacked Nor from earlier. Appearing before Nor, the Circuit 10 apologized for blindly attacking Nor earlier, grateful that the war between their countries had come to an end. Nor reassures everyone that he wasn't harmed, more worried that innocent people were harmed by his parried beam, but the Circuit 10 report there have been no casualties as of yet. As a thanks, the Circuit 10 promises to aid Nor in the future if he ever needs, pleasing Nor. With Nor and the gang preparing to depart, Randius of the Circuit 10 expresses his gratitude once more, hoping to meet up with Nor in the future. Finally returning to report the great news to the king is ecstatic to hear everything was resolved peacefully, asking Nor what he would like as a reward. Sadly, Nor mentions how he doesn't need anything, shocking the king as he demands that Nor request a reward. Thinking for a bit, Nor asks if Rollo can be treated like a normal human and be given a place to live amongst other humans. Nor reasons that Rollo living a normal life would be the best reward he could receive, but Nor knows that having the king accept Rollo as a citizen may cause a rift between their nation and the holy theocracy of Mithra. Nonetheless, Nor is more worried about fixing up their country along with funding those who were affected by the war, impressing everyone, especially the king. That night, Rollo thinks back on the moment his life flashed before his eyes, having wished to be reborn as a more useful person that can eat delicious meals every day. Suddenly waking up from his nightmare, Rollo heads downstairs, revealed to be living alongside Ines, who has laid out a feast for Rollo to indulge in. At first Rollo is hesitant to touch the food, but with some encouragement from Ines, Rollo begins devouring and savoring the meal, breaking down into tears as expresses gratitude for the meal. Back with Noor, he watches as all the townsfolk re-enter the city, mortified to see the aftermath of the Magic Kingdom's attack. Worried about Auntie Stella and the other elders, Noor giggles seeing the guild building has remained unscathed, stopping only to pick up the guild's signboard. Remembering when he first came to register as an adventurer, Noor had failed to obtain any skills, rejected for his own safety, but 15 years later Noor is now fighting alongside the instructors he once looked up to. Flashing 15 years back, we see a young Noor sign up to train alongside the Sword Sovereign, enduring the harsh training all throughout the night. On the first day, the Sovereign declared that Noor wouldn't last 3 days, but grew to respect Noor, seeing Noor make it past day 10th. As a special exercise, the Sovereign swung a massive steel ball at his students, watching as Noor prepared to parry the ball but instead broke his sword-wielding arm. Scolding Noor for letting his guard down, the Sovereign appreciated how Noor refused to give up, even after losing feeling in one of his arms. Soon after, Noor had asked the Sword Sovereign to teach him some skills, but knowing that skills manifested randomly, the Sovereign agreed to show Noor some flashy moves. Taken to some dead trees, the Sovereign blows the leaves up, barely lifting a finger, only to perfectly slash each leaf in half. Hearing Noor impressed, the Sword Sovereign admits that he too could barely keep up with his own swordplay, but is shocked to hear Noor managed to spot his movements, believing the Noor has vast potential to even surpass himself. Sadly, after 2 months, Noor had only managed to acquire the parry skill, and as the 3rd month arrived, the Sword Sovereign wondered if Noor had other specialties, recommending Noor give up on the blade and try other classes. Moving on, Noor enrolled to become a warrior, confusing the Sovereign as he feared Noor would be blown away or snapped like a twig. Regardless, Noor committed to 2 months of warrior training, impressing the Sovereign as Noor kept up with his peers. During one of the training days, the side of a cliff had crumbled, falling towards Noor, but standing his ground, Noor braced for impact, only for the Sovereign to intervene, amazed at Noor's tenacity. Sadly, Noor failed to acquire any new skills, and was also asked to leave by the warrior Sovereign. Up next, Noor visited the archer Sovereign, instructed to throw a rock at a nearby stick, expecting Noor to fail. When Noor manages to hit the target multiple times, the Sovereign wonders what she should do with a talent like Noor, giving in and finally allowing Noor to use a bow. After several attempts of drawing the bow, Noor wound up breaking hundreds of bows with his sheer strength, ordered to train by only throwing stones. The archer Sovereign had wondered where Noor learned to throw such fast and accurate stones, shocked to hear Noor normally hunts down thunderflash birds, creatures that give even professional hunters trouble, but Noor seems to hunt them easily with mere stones. After 3 months, the archer Sovereign asks Noor to leave, knowing Noor doesn't need to master the bow in order to make it in the world, but feeling discouraged, Noor heads to the spy Sovereign. Instantly accepted, the Sovereign is impressed by how quiet and agile Noor is moving, tasking her students with disabling a trap-filled corridor in order to reach the chest at the end. With Noor's peers beginning to disarm and assess the environment, Noor simply dashes head-on through the traps, making use of his agile body and quick reflexes to evade and dismantle the trap, something the Sovereign respects but was not the point of the training. After 3 months, the Sovereign fails Noor, seeing as he simply charges through most of the traps laid out for him, but the Sovereign still intends on recruiting Noor if he ever gives up on being an adventurer. Up next is the Mage Sovereign, curious as to why Noor is showing up so young, but even after 2 months of training, Noor fails to conjure a single spell. Believing it to be because Noor lacks any mana, the Mage Sovereign instructs Noor to sit in a pod that will infuse his body with mana, horrified to see Noor floating through the pod as if it was nothing. After 3 months, Noor feels despair, having only learnt the tiny flame spell, but the Sovereign notices Noor has learnt how to dual cast, something that took the Mage Sovereign 50 years to learn. Finally is the Saint Sovereign, but the Sovereign refuses any student that hasn't received a prior blessing, leading Noor to remain outside his school until the Sovereign agrees to train him. As days and nights go by, the Sovereign notices that Noor has yet to leave, commending his tenacity as the Sovereign catches Noor before Noor collapses. Allowing Noor to participate in his classes, Noor manages to learn a low-level heal spell only after 3 months, something that is impossible without a blessing. As Noor leaves his final class, Noor eventually heads back home, but this puts the Sovereign on high alert, sad to see a boy with such talent disappear after training for so long. Holding a meeting, the Sovereign agrees to all nurture Noor's talents together, all choosing to head out and find Noor to raise him as their own. In the present, Noor heads into the guild, happy to see the guildmaster is okay only to have him back his signboard. Catching up, the master wonders why Noor is so scratched up, but more importantly asks Noor to help with reconstructing some fallen buildings. Happy to oblige, Noor works through the night, reflecting on the hectic day he just experienced, grateful to have met Rollo, defeated a dragon and even stopped a civil war. Starving and needing some rest, Nor soldiers on, cutting to Darkin and the king, who both reveal that the holy theocracy of Mithra has been discovered to have been colluding with the Magic Kingdom. Although they know that their kingdom will soon meet more adversity in the future, the king knows that the sovereign will always be here to protect their town, along with Nor of course. As the sun begins to rise, Nor takes a quick break, running into Lin, who seems to be handing out food for the workers. Making some small talk, Nor's stomach grumble cuts the conversation short as Lin hands Nor a snack, rushing off to hand out more rations. Energized, Nor is grateful for everyone's help, wondering what his sword is truly made of. The series ends with Nor heading elsewhere to help with rebuilding the town, even parrying a falling piece of rubble only to swiftly head back to work. Check out one of our other videos on the screen or in the info card above. Subscribe, like and comment.